Oh, hi, Kristen. Thanks so much for the note earlier. Okay, we got some people joining. Yeah, thanks for the hearts. I've got about 12,000 of them now. Never enough. Let me just adjust this a little bit more. Okay, so first, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me. My name's William Friedman. This is a crappy tripod, and I'm with the Cross Country Local, an expedition to become the first person ever to cross America from the Atlantic to the Pacific using only local transit. Never been tried before. But thank you for coming along on the journey. Oh! Bu Abdullah. Okay. So I guess we'll let me situate myself so the sun is not blinding you. There. How's that? Is that better? All right. Okay, so first things first, a little bit of a Russian lesson. As you figured out by now, if you've been on Periscope for more than a week or so, there's a huge concentration of scopers in Moscow, and another one in Kiev, Ukraine, where they speak a language very similar to Russian, heavily influenced by Russian, as you can imagine. So here's a word that's going to keep popping up on your screens. You're going to recognize this. This says, can anyone read this? Can anyone translate this into English? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. This first letter, yes, that's right, it means hello. This first letter, that's, okay, great. Everybody, that's absolutely correct. Now, the word for hello in Russian is privyet, and here's how it's spelled. This first letter, remember this letter from geometry class? It's the Greek letter pi, and it's pronounced like a P, P. This next letter that looks like a small P is actually a small R. Dobro jutro. So, anyway, I'm trying to do you a favor here. If you ever studied Greek, yeah, privyet, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying here. Now, kak dela, that, okay, kak means how or what. I don't know what dela means. All right. This is just lesson 1. I'm not saying that I know lesson 2. But anyway, rho, not ego. Yeah, that's right. The Greek letter rho, which is pronounced like an R, is actually looks like the letter P, and so this is pr. Now, if you've watched Mission Impossible or any other Cold War spy thriller, you've seen that backward-looking N. It's not a backward-looking N. It's the Russian character for I. It's basically the letter I. Okay? So this is pri, and what looks like the letter B in English or beta in Greek is actually pronounced like a V in Russian. And if you speak Spanish, then you know how similar B's and V's can be in some languages. So that is priv. actually have I have friends of mine. They're the Volkova family, and they were really let down the first time they saw their names in an American phone book, because in the Soviet phone book, their name Volkova began with what looks like the letter B and is in the beginning of the alphabet, and then they got demoted to the letter V way towards the end of the alphabet. It took some time to recover from that. So anyway, Priv, and then the letter E is pronounced similarly to the English letter E, but there's the short letter the short sound However, in Russian and in Ukrainian too, I believe, there's a y sound at the beginning of it. So this isn't prive, it's privye, and then the letter T is the letter T, tau, So this says privyet, and it means hello. So you respond to that by saying privyet. Now, you might want to urge them to continue the conversation in English if your Russian is even more limited than mine, and mine's pretty limited. So they want to say English, please. The Russian word for English is angliski. Say it with me. Angliski. One more time. Angliski. And the word for please is ridiculously long and hard to say, but let's try it. Pajalista. You say pa, ja, li, sta. Say it with me. Pa, ja, li, sta. Now let's put it together. Pajalista. Now remember what English was? Angliski. Angliski pajalista. Privyet angliski pajalista. One more time. Privyet angliski pajalista. Хорошо. That means good. All right. So let's push on. The next thing that most Russians will ask you, or maybe not most, but some Russians will ask you, is what do you think of Vladimir Putin? Нет. Niet to what? Have I got that all wrong? Why don't you invite us all to your scope and you can teach us how to speak Russian? I'm just trying to be helpful here. So anyway, I can tell you, what you should or should not think of Putin. But my only opinion is this. Being here in West Texas, I'm running into a lot of people who think that Obama is a dictator. That Obama is a dictator. Okay, I'm not going to begin to unpack that. Obama is greater than Putin. Okay, I personally agree, but I'm not going to prescribe that belief on anyone else. I will only say this, is that if you think Obama is a dictator, move to Russia. No, I've been taught a little Russian, but I was actually a member of a Russian wedding party. I gave away a bride at a Russian wedding once. Quite an experience, but that's for another scope. Anyway, if you really believe that Putin is a great leader and Obama is a dictator, here's my advice. Visit Russia and see if the view of Putin from 10 miles away is the same as the view of Putin from 10,000 miles away. Then you come back here and tell me, between Putin and Obama, who's the dictator? I do not learn English? Oh, I've taught English. Russian mail order bride? Oh, no, then I would know a whole lot more Russian than I do. There is a Russian family where I fell between the mother and the daughter in age, so I didn't make a play for either one of them. Just wouldn't have felt appropriate, even though I love them both very dearly. But one's like a second mom to me, and the other is like literally my kid's sister now, and my lawyer. All right. I am at the end of my Russian, so what did I tell everyone to say? Privyet, angliski pajalista. Give me credit for knowing at least that much, all right? Привет. All right. So, I'm going to be here in Fort Stockton. Thank you so much for the hearts. As I said, I've got about 13,000 hearts now, but by the end of this journey, I want to break 100K. So just keep those carotid things coming, and I'll be very happy. I live for them. All right, so I'm in Fort Stockton. I was here last night, and I'm here tonight. This is kind of like the edge of civilization here, and apparently has been since before the Civil War. Interesting thing about Fort Stockton is that there actually was a fort here before the Civil War that was used by first of all the Texian Army, and then by the Confederate Army, and after the war by the Union Army. It was actually abandoned for most of the Civil War because no one was actually going to attack from the west. All the fighting was east of here. So anyway, when the Union Army took it over after the war, this is where the Buffalo Soldiers were stationed, and if you don't know about your history, then you don't know where you're coming from, and you'll never have to ask me who the hell I think I am. It's Bob Marley lyrics, so either look up the Bob Marley song Buffalo Soldiers or Wikipedia Buffalo Soldiers. It's worth it. And this is where they were stationed. So, what else can I tell you about Fort Stockton? I'm stuck here for 2 nights, and then the plan is to get to El Paso from here. Guess what? You can't get from El Paso from here. Here are my options. There's about a 25% chance, in my rough guesstimation, of being able to get there from Marfa. Now, as I mentioned before, the Cross Country Local is putting into practice a mental exercise of, is it possible to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific using only local or regional or rural or paratransit? Basically transit that is available to the whole community and doesn't use national chains. Check out the Marfa Lights. Heard of them? No, I haven't. I will definitely look that up, Jason. Thanks. But anyway, when it will be good to know Russian, you teach me English. Well, you find yourself in America. You come to America. Let's talk about teaching English. And I can tell you this much: teaching Russians to speak English. And this is no shit. Teaching Russians to speak English is a whole lot easier than teaching Russians how to drive. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay? So anyway, I'll look up those Marfa Lights. But in the meantime, the transit the transit authority around here is called West Texas Opportunities Tracks. And they did a stellar job of getting me from Big Spring all the way here to Fort Stockton, which has got to be about 300 miles or so. I don't know on the map, but it was a considerable distance. And I wish I had some nice things to say about Midland, Odessa's Easy Rider local routed system, but I don't. I don't have a good thing to say about them. So I'll just keep my mouth shut for now. You read about it in the book. So anyway, West Texas Opportunities took me to Midland and picked me up in Odessa and got me here to Fort Stockton. Easy Rider is fairly new here. Okay, great. Sadly, practiced incompetence, and well, I think they also suck because of just inherent incompetence and not caring about their jobs. I don't know how much of it has to do with being new. Some of it for sure, but I also just plain don't like their attitude towards work. So anyway, West Texas Opportunities Tracks has done their job to the best of their ability, and that is considerable. And I particularly want to thank Elena, who is the scheduling supervisor there, for being my guide and shepherd this far. But this is where her brief ends, and supposedly Tracks or West Texas Opportunities contract someone else from here. Now, Tracks only goes as far as Fort Stockton. Then they're supposed to hand you off to West Texas Opportunities subcontractor called Big Bend Transportation. We're right near the Big Bend of the Rio Bravo, which separates Texas from Mexico, from the state of Chihuahua, Mexico. But West Texas Transportation, or Big Bend Transportation, did not pick up the ball until I got on the phone with one of their supervisors yesterday. And what she told me was that, in part because this is a holiday week, in part because scheduling is erratic because it's dial-a-ride demand response. She could not guarantee me that there would be anyone going to El Paso from Fort Stockton using their service, which is primarily for medical use. People going for dialysis or wheelchair-bound patients or whatever, but there was nobody going in the direction of El Paso from their main office in Marfa. She did say, what's the biggest country in the world? Russia is the biggest country in the world. What is the most populous? People's Republic of China. Why? What do you care? What I can tell you about Texas is that Texas is pretty damn big in its own right. It's not quite as large as Alaska. It's the second largest U.S. state. However, if you adjust for the kind of projection bias that cartographers use when they're crafting maps, you'll see that Texas isn't all that much smaller than Alaska as it looks on a globe. All right, but anyway, Texas is huge. How big is it? It's France with a side of Switzerland. You put France and Switzerland together, and they'll still fit inside of Texas. I'm done with the Russian lesson. Thank you. Now it's a geography lesson. Keep up. All right. So, Big Bend says that they can get me pretty much any time from Fort Stockton to Marfa, which is where they're headquartered. Now the question is, from Marfa, can they get me a ride west towards El Paso or perhaps into El Paso? They don't think they can this week. They're going to keep me posted if things change, but as of right now, they don't think they can. What they do on a daily basis, though, is they have a regular routed service from Fort Stockton down to Presidio, which is right on the Rio Bravo, which is right on the Mexican border. So right now my plan is this. Stay here tonight, it's Tuesday night, then spend most of the day here on Wednesday, and then somewhere in the 2 o'clock hour, a Big Bend bus will take me from here down to Presidio. I cross the border into Ojinaga, which is in the state of Chihuahua in Mexico. From there, I take a bus to the state capital, Chihuahua, and from there, I transfer to another bus to hopefully El Paso, Texas, more likely just as far as Ciudad Juarez, which is the city on the Mexican side of the border with El Paso. and it is also one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It is so dangerous, and I'm not kidding you about this, that the U.S. Army is not allowed to go there. Soldiers on leave are not allowed to cross the border from El Paso into Juarez. It is, from what I understand, a court-martial offense for anyone in the U.S. military to be in that town. I will send you a postcard. So anyway, the takeaway here is, if I was willing to wait a week or so, West Texas opportunities, Big Bend transportation would be able to get me to El Paso, but I'm not willing to wait that long. You know, I'm not made of money. I can't just stay parked in one place forever. But I can spend like 600. Well, this is the thing. It's about 600 pesos to get from Ojinaga to El Paso, or to Juarez. But you know what the symbol for the Mexican peso is? It's this. And I got the most intense case of sticker shock when I saw that on these Mexican bus line schedules, that because I thought they were talking U.S. dollars. No, they're talking Mexican pesos, which are worth 6 U.S. cents. So it suddenly became very reasonable to be paying like 500, 600 Jewish crucifixes to get there. Anyway, I do have to concede that Big Bend transportation stepped up. They did what they could, and had this been another week, they'd have been able to do this. So I want to give them full credit. But just the way the dice tumbled this time, it looks like I'm going to have to, unless something breaks between now and Wednesday, I'm going down to Presidio, jumping the border, taking 2 buses to Juarez, jumping the border again into El Paso, and getting back on schedule. On a personal note, there is one other thing that's occurred over the weekend, which I can't even blame on Odessa. It just happened. I've said before that I'm a 52-year-old man on a 22-year-old's journey, and with the exception of all the piss breaks I have to take, I really felt up to the challenge. It's you know, I wasn't hurting. I wasn't getting fatigued. I was feeling great. I was feeling better than I felt in years. However, sometime Saturday, I got these back spasms that are just killing me, and I'm taking muscle relaxants. I'm taking painkillers. It still hurts. It hurts a lot, and it doesn't seem to be skeletal in nature. I can still put on my backpack. Once I'm standing, I'm fine standing, and once I'm standing with my backpack and walking with my backpack, there's no real change. But like standing up and sitting down are intensely painful. So I'm taking this as a gift. I guess I've always had a low threshold for pain. Well, now I've got something that there's just not fighting through. So I'm welcoming the pain. I'm learning to work through pain. I'm too young for back problems. Do back exercise, dudes. I haven't been too young for back problems for 30 years, son, but thank you. But I think that if and when I find a therapeutic masseuse, that'll go a long way too, and I might look for one while I'm in town here. But in the meantime, I'm learning to deal with pain, part of the internal trip that goes along with the external trip, and that external trip is the cross-country local, an effort to get from the East Coast to the West Coast using only local or regional transit. And my name's William Friedman. Thank you for coming along on this trip. Please follow me here on Periscope. Please do that now. And also, please invite your followers to follow me on Periscope and keep the hearts coming. That's nice too. Also, please follow Cross Country Local. Oh, Kristen, you're such a sweetheart. And as long as you're out, follow the Cross Country Local community page on Facebook, so that you can keep a more permanent record of what's going on here. Also, if you want to follow on Instagram or Twitter, it's hashtag XCLocal. That's X-Ray Charlie Local for Cross Country Local. And thank you very much for tuning in. I'll get back to you probably tomorrow when I'm on the bus to Presidio. In the meantime, I'll see you along the route.